Hello and welcome to the live. It is Kim Howerton. I'm glad to be here with you tonight. I am here to talk about whatever people want to talk about. I have some sparkling water. This is not my favorite kind. They just discontinued my favorite soda. The Zevia grapefruit citrus is just my favorite kind of soda that ever really existed. It's the only one I really like anymore, and they discontinued it. What? Everybody likes grapefruit. What are you doing? Anyway, I'm so glad to be here with you to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about tonight. But I have some reviews. I thought we could talk about some products. So why don't I jump in with those, and then you can ask questions. So first, I want to tell you about this oil. So this is Zero Acre is what it's called. Zeroacre, Zero Acre, and it's called that because it kind of has a little bit of an environmental note to it, as far as I can tell. It is a cultured oil. So just like they culture, like allulose is made from a natural product that they then culture, or when you ferment things, you make something from something else. So this is a cultured oil. So it is engineered, if you will, but it comes from a natural product that then is cultured, just like wine or something like that, right? So, and it's super high in monounsaturated fat. It's designed, I mean, obviously, it's trying to find its happy point for all the people in the sort of more mainstream. And so, anyway, but it's a super high heat oil. So you can use it in frying, you can use it in very high hot cooking, and it is completely flavorless. Like super, like no flavor. So you know what it's really good for? Mayonnaise. If you make mayonnaise with this, I swear you will never want to make mayonnaise with avocado oil again, unless you really like the taste of avocado oil, because this makes what tastes like commercial mayonnaise because it has no flavor of its own. So it only tastes like whatever you add to it. So I'm a big fan. And basically, this is the only oil. I mean, I will use avocado oil, but I like this better than avocado oil. So this is what I stock in the kitchen now. It is more expensive than avocado oil. I think it's about $25 for this bottle, whereas this bottle would be about $15 if it was avocado oil. And you have to order it direct from the company. But I love it. It's a product rack that I have. Those of you that are like, I'm trying to up my saturated fat, not my monounsaturated fat, you're going to have to go with some tallow or things like that, which totally awesome to do. Or my brain just went pork fat, or any other kind of animal fat like lard, right? The only complaint I have is these little bottles, they dent a little bit. So, because it's a aluminum bottle, but they don't break. They just have a little, sometimes they get a little dent in them. Um, anyway, so it has a very low carbon footprint. It's not going to destroy the Amazon like soybean oil is. It tastes very it's called Zero Acre, Zeroacre. So it's good for, I'm like, yay environment, yay health. It's got, and like I said, I'm a fan of monounsaturated fats, and it's like the lowest in linoleic. It's like no linoleic acid. I mean, it might have like a trace amount, but it's almost all monounsaturated, not poly. So this is an oil that I like, especially once I made mayonnaise with it. And I was like, oh, okay, game changer. All right. So then the next thing was I opened these, so the label is broken, but you can see it's called Keech. Keech. I got mint and I got peanut butter. And I'll show you what came in them. They're little candies. And then they look like this. They look like a little candy. These are the dark chocolate. They have milk chocolate too, and that's what it looks like inside. So this one is the peanut butter, and they're melting. The peanut butter one. So this one is peanut butter truffle organic dark chocolate, and the ingredients are peanuts, because it's peanut, organic cacao, chocolate. Organic allulose is a sweetener. Organic cocoa butter, right? Because you need that to make a hardened chocolate, and sea salt. And that's all that's in this candy. All. So I'll show you the, hello, there we go. That's the inside again. I actually feel like the peanut flavor could be stronger, but the chocolate overwhelms the peanut butter a little bit, but you still do get a peanut flavor. And that's because, right, it's organic roasted peanuts in here. If they didn't add extra peanut oil for extra flavor. Anyway, it's delicious, very tasty, and allulose is the sweetener. And then the mint, there's no reason for me to cut it open. It looks almost identical, except the inside is dark because it's chocolate on the inside, but there is a softer texture to the part on the inside. But the mint one is cacao, all organic, cacao, allulose, cocoa butter, coconut oil, and peppermint oil. That's what's in the mint. I'm going to say that I prefer the kind of, this is very minty, which is not bad. But sometimes it's like, oh, that's very minty. Anyway, and so the macros on these for 3 pieces, so that's 3 pieces, would be 130 calories, 12 grams of fat, 13 grams of carbs, but a lot of that is allulose. So 3 grams of fiber. I can do the math here. They can't list the allulose carbs directly, so I'll do the math for you. And 3 grams. Oh, geez, Louise. Hold on, I gotta get my glasses. The age is catching up with me and the eyeballs. Hold on. So, yeah, 3 grams. So, okay, so if I take the total carbs and I add the fiber back, that's 3, so 10. So it's 9 grams of this is allulose. So it is 1 net carb if you for 3 candies, right? And I'm happy with 1, but this is for 3. It's 1 net carb if you subtract the fiber. It's 4 net carbs if you leave the fiber in. So each one of these, if you don't count the allulose, is like 1 carb, right? And so that's this much candy. That's this much candy. So you can compare it to the size of my nose. Okay. So I am not a big supporter of a lot of keto candy companies out there because they're lying to us about the carbs in them. So, but these don't spike my blood. Now I get no blood sugar response from one of these. I haven't tested more than that because I've only eaten one at a time. And the ingredients don't make me think you should. And yeah, so if you're looking for a little like tasty candy, and to me they taste a little more gourmet. Anyway, I haven't tried the milk chocolate ones. I've only tried the dark chocolate ones. And I got them off of an ad, but I'm sure if you went to Keech, Keech, just put that in your browser. I don't have codes for any of these things. I'm just telling you things I've liked. Then if I get affiliate deals, I'll let you know. You should be able to find them. I'll just double check. Keech. Yeah, the website is eatkeech.com. eatkeech.com. And then the last thing I tried this week were these David protein bars. I'll get to the questions when I'm done with the reviews part. So they're called David. I bet some of you have heard about these. They're a very high protein bar, and they are 150 calories. I've opened them. 150 calories, and of that, 28 grams of protein. So that's a lot better than a lot of protein bars out there. I'll show you. They're a little stuck in there. So this is shorter than it used to be. We took off a little bit to try it. But this one is the blueberry pie flavor. So you can see they're not chocolate coated. Smells really good, like blueberries. There are little crispies in there. Anyway, these are not, as I would say, as clean in terms of the ingredients. I'm going to have to put my glasses back on. All right, so what's in here? There's milk protein, isolate, collagen, whey protein, allulose, polydextrose, glycerin, tapioca starch, and soy lecithin. And there's palm kernel oil and coconut oil, and then some flower extract, citric acid, salt, stevia, monk fruit, and cocoa powder. So, mid-level on some of those things. And so they're 7 grams of the carbs is allulose. So what we've got here is 2 grams of fat, 7 grams of carbs, not including the allulose, and 28 grams of protein in a bar. And I think, what are those? What is the website on that? Let's look. davidprotein.com is the name of that bar. Thank you for being my assistant, Rita. Anyway, so I got 4 flavors of the David bars, and double fudge brownie, blueberry pie, cake batter, and chocolate chip cookie dough. And I saw they just came out with peanut after I got this sample pack. And the only one of these flavors I didn't like was the cake batter, because I don't like cake batter flavored anything. It's always too sweet for me, and this was too sweet for me as well. But if you like your things cake batter flavored, you'll like it. So my boyfriend, who is not keto, also tried these. He liked all the flavors. He said they were really good. I have a client who, and a good friend, who has tried these, and she is a very sensitive blood sugar person, and she says they don't affect her blood sugar. So they didn't bother me, they didn't bother my boyfriend, they didn't bother her blood sugars, and she's very careful about that. So that was a good sign. I'm not encouraging us to eat bars instead of food. I'm definitely a food first kind of person. But if you need an emergency supply of bars for power outages, airline travel, backpacks, things like that, when you're traveling or going for a hike or whatever, because they're not all this color. This one's this color because it's blueberry flavored, but they're not super sticky or anything. They're not as melt. They don't have a coating of chocolate that's going to melt. So anyway, I just thought you guys might want to know about some of the things I've tried recently and found were thumbs up for me. Anyway, there you go. So let's go to the questions. If you have questions about the products, please let me know. Hey, Amy. Hey, you say, I have been keto for 8 years, lost 113 pounds, finally got to a healthy weight, didn't make any changes, then started to gain weight again pretty rapidly. Over the last year, I have gained back half. I started getting a lot of other symptoms I never had, and I've developed Hashimoto's hypothyroiditis. How can that happen after 8 years of this lifestyle? So, Proud to Be Weird here mentions that perimenopause can bring a lot of changes to our health. And so I don't know if you're in that place, but congrats on losing a lot of weight. I'm sure that was very frustrating when the weight started to come back on. I too was somebody that struggled with some weight regain on keto. And I had to go to really make sure that I was tracking very accurately in terms of what I was eating, and go to paying a lot of attention to that. Just be eating clean and, having a primarily meat-based diet was not enough for me to keep the weight off. Now, why did you develop Hashimoto's in the midst of all this? So for some people, a switch up in hormones can affect other hormones, right? So sex hormones can affect thyroid hormones, chronic undereating, but Hashimoto's thyroiditis specifically is an autoimmune disorder. And so why an autoimmune disorder might strike us even though we're eating a really healthy diet, there may have been an ingredient that you were sensitive to in your keto diet that was not working for you, even though it's technically keto. It might be that there is a totally non-food cause of your issues, which is very common. food is one thing out of many that can go kaflooey in the body. And so it might have been sleep breakdown, it might have been stress, it might have been just some environmental trigger, some mold in your environment. It could be any number of things. So just because we eat the best possible diet, if we are eating the best possible diet for us, doesn't mean we are immune to all possible health problems. Sorry, got an itch on my back. And and so why you might have developed this problem, I would say is not a super answerable question here. But the fact that you've started seeing weight regain is not unusual there. It would take for to really kind of I can't diagnose, but to really get to the bottom of what might be going on there and what might turn it around. We have to look at that. Now, Rita says here that's weird because keto helped Nisha with her Hashimoto's. And for sure, um, keto can be very helpful for Hashimoto's, but like we're all bio individual. And so keto is a very broad term. So Nisha always says very specifically, you have to find the right diet for you, not just keto. She doesn't even call herself keto, right? Though her diet fits in a keto framework, keto is kind of an umbrella term. And so one person with Hashimoto's might not be able to eat tomatoes or peppers or onions. Those things might trigger autoimmune issues. Whereas for another person, they're perfectly fine with those foods, but they can't have nuts. And for another person, right? So we all have to dial in what works for us. And so I just want to say that it may have been any number of things that triggered the sort of the I always say, like, with autoimmune things, it's never just one thing, right? It's usually like it's like you're going bowling. Something stacks up the pins and then finally something knocks them down. But the pins were stacked up and waiting. And so, knowing exactly what happened there, it often a what we would call like an elimination diet is helpful to see if there are some food triggers in your diet that may be impacting your symptoms, your autoimmune levels, your antibody levels. That's what I meant to say. Your antibody levels. But in terms of like blame game, I would say sometimes it's not your food. Sometimes it's your house. Sometimes it's your life. Sometimes it's your job stress. Sometimes it's it could be any number of things that trigger the kind of final onslaught of your autoimmune condition. And so that just sucks in the world. But it is something that happens. Um, so if I were working with you, Amy, what I would probably do is really dial in with food tracking for some period of time in terms of your macros, but also in terms of your ingredients, and then maybe undertake an elimination diet where we bring you back to a very basic diet. Very minimal ingredients, very minimal, for some people it's so far back it's just meat and water. I mean, and then other people, it might be different than that, but we strip it back to very basic foods and then let your body kind of live at that baseline for a month or two, and then slowly start to reintroduce foods to see how you respond to them. And that's often the way that I know that's what Ken and Nisha Berry often encourage. They go to the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. That works for some people great. I think that's a great elimination diet. So if you want to start there, or you can take it just back to meat and water if you want to go real extreme, and then from there try and pin down if there was something that you were eating that isn't as friendly as you were hoping. And quite a few people can then through that process get to a place where you might keep your Hashimoto's basically not active in remission. But it can be very challenging when you've got an active hypothyroid issue and it's not well managed. It can be hard to lose weight. It can be hard to maintain your weight. It can just cause a lot of issues down the line. So, so I wish you luck on that. And if you need help, please let me know. But you can run something like an elimination diet and see what's going on there for sure. All right. Any other questions we got coming in tonight? I can go back over any things like I'm not kidding about how this makes really good mayonnaise. All right. Rita says, how long when you start eliminating should you wait to start? Great, great question. Okay. So I usually recommend at least 30 days of, so go down to your base diet. Um, Go down to your base diet and stay there for at least 30 days, possibly 60, because you want a real good baseline. And then from there, it's single food. So like, right, if you weren't eating eggs in that period, add eggs back in and see how you do. Um, have them for one day, then don't eat them the next day, then try them again, then kind of eat, so start adding those in. If you go two introductions and you don't notice any problems with it, then add that to your safe list. Then introduce something new, then introduce something new, right? Kind of that same process. So you're only introducing probably 2 to 3 foods a week. And it's foods, not like it's single ingredient foods, right? So I'm adding butter. It's not like now I'm going to try a David bar, right? Because there are 20 ingredients in the David bar. So it's, you're starting with food, just individual ingredient foods for quite some time. And you're just going through that process until you get to a place where you're like, okay, I have a good baseline diet. And then, over time you can expand it from there. But it's basically like a 6-month process to really go through everything, right? To get back to where you're like, okay, I know how I can eat. I know what works for me at this point, and you're not kind of living in that place. Um, so yeah, you said you're going to do the Isabella Wentz Hashimoto's protocol. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Is she the one? No, that's Amy Myers. There are two women who do autoimmune Hashimoto's thing, and one was like a hypothyroid one, and one was a hyperthyroid lady. So anyway, I think Isabel Wentz is the one you're talking about. Another resource would be I can see her in my mind. She's very blonde, blonde curly hair. Who is that? Anyway, let me see. I'm looking at my phone because I think what was her name? Anyway, if I think of it, I will let you know. All right. Tina asks, "Hi Kim, what are some of your favorite protein powder brands?" Keto Chow. It kind of depends what you're asking me for, right? If you're talking about, for me, the primary thing I use for protein powders for is baking. So my recommendations are very much based on what I do with them baking. So that would be Keto Chow and PE Science, PESCIENCE, PE Science, and Keto Chow. Those are my two top recommendations because they're both combined dairy proteins, which combines both whey and casein protein, which is best for baking. You don't want just to bake with whey protein. If you're looking to make a drink or a shake, my question would be, are you looking for a person who struggles to eat much and is struggling to keep muscle mass on, and you're trying something sort of more medicinal? Or they're a person who's just looking to add a drink to their life, because that would impact what kind of protein I would recommend. So if someone is elderly and they're struggling with muscle mass issues and sarcopenia, and we're trying to get protein in their system quickly to maybe trigger a little bit more, or support a little more of muscle protein synthesis, I might give them a whey protein. But if they're anybody else, I would give them the recommendation I said before, which is a mix of casein and dairy proteins, because those thicken up more when you mix them up. And so you're having more of a milkshakey experience, and they digest slower, whereas whey protein digests very quickly, which can cause a little bit more of an insulin reaction in some people. It's not really a big deal, certainly if somebody's not eating a lot otherwise. So, but if I was like, hey, I have a relative in a nursing home, we got to get some protein in this woman because she just never eats any, I would just get her a whey protein shake like a Fairlife because the premixed drinks because those you can just they drink down like a chocolate milk. They're not very thick, they drink fast, they're not very filling. So that can work for somebody who you need to get some protein into somebody when it's really challenging. Whereas if somebody's like, I just want something that I can make a shake and have a shake in the morning so I don't have to think about it, but I am somebody that gets hungry, I am somebody that needs a little more satiety from my food, then the same protein powders I use um for baking, I would say PE Science and Keto Chow would be great for those people. Tina, does that answer your question? It's kind of specifically depends. And if it's somebody like, hey, I want a quick burst of protein for after my workout, they would also maybe go for the whey protein shake drink. And there are plenty of those. There's the Fairlife drinks. They come in a little white bottle, or Jocko, Jocko, Jocko Willing. He's a Navy SEAL guy. His pre-mixed protein drinks are pretty tasty too. You can get them at like, Vitamin World, those kinds of places. So those are the ones I go for. And like I said, these David bars are the first protein bars that I'm actually recommending ever. Not better than the steak, not better than eggs, not better than food, but they're better than every other protein bar that I've seen in terms of both the macros and sort of the general taste. They're a little bit chewy. They got a little crispy thing in them. And so if it's a convenience factor, a bar can be very convenient. So there you go. All righty. What else? So we've talked about some of my product recommendations. We've talked a little bit about Hashimoto's and elimination diets. We've talked about protein powders. Yeah, so those are the things that I think will be helpful to people this week, hopefully. And I'm here if you need me. Rita said, do I make chocolate drinks with Element? If so, what's your recipe? Oh yeah, I do use the chocolate elements. And I mostly use them. So I'll make like a cappuccino. So I'll make a coffee and I might flavor it with sugar-free syrup. Like I have some sugar-free peppermint syrup. So I made a coffee. I put like a half a teaspoon of peppermint syrup in it. I foamed up some Fairlife milk to put on top. And then I sprinkled across the top a half a packet of the chocolate mint Element as sort of a topping. And then I just sip it and I get a little it's a little like a margarita effect, right? You get a little on your lip as you're sipping. I've occasionally mixed it through as well, but I kind of like that hit of salt and chocolate all at once. So I do it that way usually, but I've also done the other flavors that way. And so that's usually how I do it. I do it in coffee. I haven't just done it on its own, but I wouldn't imagine a hot cocoa would be any different. So I would probably do something like some steamed milk with, and you could do nut milk, right? Like a steamed nut milk or cashew milk or a reduced carb milk, and then mix in a little cocoa and then whatever chocolate element you want. And if you've never done it before and you're afraid it's going to be too salty, just put in a quarter and try it. And if that's like, oh, it's not too salty, put in a half, just kind of keep working on it until you get to the level that you like. And so, but for me, I use it as almost a topping. That's just kind of the way I've done it. Eventually it kind of gets mixed in over time, but I like that little hit of it. So yeah, I do do the chocolate elements that way. I have to remember though, to be perfectly honest, because I'm often like, oh right, I've got those in the cabinet. I'm more likely to reach for the fruit flavored ones, kind of put in water and drink earlier in the day. But the chocolate ones are very tasty and good to include too, for sure. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna call it a night because I do these for about a half an hour these days. I hope you got something out of this. If you have any questions about any of these products or any of my thoughts about anything, please feel free to ask. Feel free to put questions in the comments if you're watching this on replay. Oh, please like this. I always forget to say that. Please like the video. Please make comments on the video so that the algorithm likes me better and I feel good about that. And if you have questions about these products or products you want me to get some of and try, I'll do that. I like to waste money, and because I always just buy them. I'm not like send me things. I mean, sure, send me things, but I will try things. So I'm happy to always do that. So if there's something you've been wondering about, just let me know. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye bye.